Thank you very much. Thank you, and welcome everybody. Thank you for coming this morning. I am a member of the League of Women Voters. I am a trained moderator. I also train the league monitors for the state of Illinois. I've been with the league for 25 years, and I am a member of the Wheaton League. So I've been here before. This is my first time at West Chicago, and I'm grateful to be invited back. This morning we're going to be hearing from candidates for the West Chicago Community School District Board for District 94. 6 candidates are running to fill 3 seats with 4-year terms. 1 candidate is running to fill 1 seat of a 2-year term. 1 candidate did not respond to our invitation to join us today. The candidates agreed prior to this morning to the basic rules that were outlined by the League of Women Voters and the Western DuPage Chamber of Commerce, and I'll briefly cover that. Candidates are seated by lots drawn prior to the forum and will be starting at this end. The candidate who makes the first opening statement will move to the end of the line for the first question. And this rotation, for the first question, this rotation will continue through the questioning and all the way through the closing statements. If I call you out of order, just let me know. I do keep track, but sometimes I get caught up in the conversation and lose where I was. It's been known to happen 2 weekends ago and one-on-one. Candidates are allowed 1 minute to give an opening statement, 1 minute to respond to questions, 1 minute for a closing statement. Statements and responses are timed by members of the League of Women Voters. They are using countdown paddles, so we'll put those up, show them what they're looking at. It will start with 1 minute. You'll see a 30-second, a 15-second, then stop. I will enforce the limits. I will ask you to use your allocated time, but please do not go over the limit. If you do, I'll try to let you finish your sentence, but you may hear me just say thank you very much, and then we'll go on to the next person. There are also some rules that apply to the members of the audience. Questions will come from the audience. Only written questions will be used, and volunteers have index cards. There's one laid in the back. The questions must be addressed to all candidates. A question posed to a specific candidate will not be used. League of Women Voters members will review the questions for appropriateness and to avoid duplication. There may not be enough time to answer all the questions, but there is an opportunity if you have additional questions to ask the candidate yourself at the conclusion of the forum. Out of courtesy to the candidates and other audience members, please turn off all electronic devices. No voice, image, or other duplication of the forum may be used by a candidate's representative or campaign in any campaign advertising. There's a table outside the room that's designated the appropriate campaign literature of candidates. Finally, please refrain from applauding or demonstrating or in any other way showing support or non-support for a candidate. Save that until the end. So, I think that we're ready to start now, so we'll begin with opening statements, and for that we'll start with Mr. Claypatch.
Good morning, my name is Dean Claypatch. I'm the pastor of Glen Arbor Community Church, which is the closest church to the high school. It's the old Methodist church building. I bought that building from them about 15 years ago, behind the tennis courts at the school. I wasn't always a pastor. I worked for 20 years for a heavy industrial construction company. I have 2 engineering degrees from Purdue University, one in construction engineering and management and one in civil engineering. And about 10 years ago, I left that career and to pursue going into the ministry, moved to West Chicago. I didn't know anything about District 94, and 3 of my 4 children went to the high school, and we just had a phenomenal experience with my boys being in the school and being in organized sports. And I want to come alongside partnerships and mentoring with what the teachers are doing. So that's my hope and goal for being involved on the school board.
Thank you. Mr. Brown.
Hi, my name is Bob Brown. I've lived in Winfield for 26 years, and for the last 20 years I've been serving on the Winfield District 34 School Board. I worked for 33 years in the IT department of Harper College. Now I'm a manager at Donnelly's Wild West Town in Union. I have a loving wife and 4 great children. Our high school is a great school. We have some of the most passionate and gifted educators in the region. Our school does face some challenges, however. One of the largest ones is about trust. Last year, we came within a hair's breadth of a strike after more than a year of contentious negotiations. The trust between the board, teachers, staff, administrators, and the community has been seriously damaged by those negotiations. There is also a feeling both within the district and within the community that there isn't enough transparency and openness in how the district operates and makes decisions. I would like to be a part of repairing those issues. Our great school can be even greater with high levels of trust, openness, and transparency.
Thank you. Ms. Doremus?
My name is Catherine Doremus. I am an incumbent on the school board. I've been on the board, served for 3 terms so far, and I'm hoping to be elected to serve for a 4th term. In the last 12 years that I've been on the board, we have seen many challenges in the community and in the world as we know it. So economics has been a challenge. I think that has been part of issues that we've come across with our negotiations. We will continue to work with our teaching staff because they are phenomenal and we value them and what they do, and we will continue to work on finding solutions to do things differently. I'm here because our kids are the best students I've ever seen, and I'm here to serve those people. Those are our future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Casey Mayer?
Thank you. My name is Lynn Casey Mayer, and I'm running for Community High School District 94 School Board. I've lived in West Chicago most of my life. Attended Gary School, attended Lehman Middle School, and Community High School, as did my kids, and my husband was a teacher there for a time. As with many others, after 2016, I felt called to action. I got involved and started knocking on doors. Doing so, I realized that local level is where people's problems and interests are, and I knew that the local level is where true change occurs. I believe the greatest positive impact for the future of our country is to support our students and provide them with the best education in the safest environment possible so they may grow and thrive. After all, they're our future leaders, our innovators, our workers, and our active citizens. We're a diverse community culturally and economically, and we need to address the needs of all of our students, whether they're going in the workforce or they're college bound. I hope to be a part of this and support the development for the changing needs of our students. Thank you.
Ms. Scanlon?
My name is Lauren Scanlon. I was appointed to the school board this past summer, so I'm an incumbent, but I've only been serving for about 6-7 months. I'm an educator. My profession, I teach 3rd grade, but I'm certified to teach elementary through high school in the areas of English and speech and drama. Upon graduating, I joined the Teach for America organization, and if you're unfamiliar with that, they are a group of teacher leaders that work with some of the most diverse communities in our country. So that's kind of where I got my passion for working with diverse learners and students that come from all different backgrounds. I have a passion for education. As I said, I am a teacher. I do have my administrative license as well. I think from my time on the board thus far, being in the field of education, I've given a unique lens to some of the issues that have come forward with our school board, and I'd like to continue to give that lens to the school board members and then also support the staff of our teachers in District 94 to do what's best for our kids.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll start with the questions, and the first question will go to Mr. Brown. First question is, great emphasis has been placed on providing AP classes. What supports are you planning or currently have in place for students who don't meet grade level?
That is an excellent question. While I applaud the efforts and the AP classes and dual credit and things for students that are high achieving, it is a sacred duty for public schools to meet the needs of all students, and I believe we do need to focus more resources on the students that are struggling to just make grade level. Like I said, we need to meet the needs of all students, and so that is something that I'm particularly concerned about.
Thank you. Ms. Doremus?
In the past 12 years, that has been something we've constantly talked about, and while we have raised the bar by adding a lot of AP courses, we are also, as a board, very, very cognizant of the needs of our students that don't hit that point, and we have implemented different programs to help raise them up. We have programs that go through the summer. We have done outreach with the different feeder districts to try and identify students who need extra support, and we're going to continue focusing on that. That is one of the reasons we chose the superintendent that we chose, is because that population that seems to fall through the cracks is somewhere we need to target right now.
Great, thank you. Ms. Casey Mayer?
I also agree that this is an area that needs a lot of improvement. I think that reaching out and working with the feeder schools is vital in this, because this didn't just happen when they came in as freshmen, so we need to be working together to make sure that they're ready when they come to the high school. And if they're not, that's fine, then we need to have classes in place to bring them up to grade level. I think the AP classes and the dual credit classes are fabulous, but the emphasis should be on all of our students, not just those at the top, or even just those at the bottom. A lot of times it's those in the middle that we seem to lose track of. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scanlon.
I agree with what a lot that's been said already. I think identifying those students that we know are coming in and are struggling, helping them right from the get-go. I think also identifying if there are other needs they have that can help them be successful. Perhaps the workload of high school is just not what they're used to, and now they're falling through the cracks because they need supports in other ways, whether it might be socially. High school is a very different environment than middle school and elementary school, so there might be some social emotional things that we could put into place that will help all students be more successful in that area as well.
Thank you. Mr. Clayback.
One of the things we've done is my church, in partnership with Wheaton Bible Church, sponsors a high school Puente program. We have 30 kids who come over after school, and they have adult mentors who help them with their homework right after school. And so we're trying to have someone engage with the work process and show that an adult is interested in what they're working on. Not everyone has that at home, and that's done partly with staff and partly with volunteers, and that's what I'm looking for. Is there a way to increase programs like that and invite more people into the process?
Great, thank you. Next question, and we'll start with Mr. Ramos. Department chairmen currently don't teach classes. Wouldn't it be a better practice to have them in classroom and therefore lower class size?
That's, excuse me, a very difficult question, and we are currently looking at all different ways of structuring it. Lower class size has statistically proven to be beneficial to students, but we also have to look at the duties that department chairmen take on, in addition to supervisory levels, and how to best utilize the funds that are negotiated with our teaching contracts. So there are many different pieces that come into play. It's not an easy answer. It's not something that you could just say, yes, this is how it should work. It is something that we talk about and examine and may change at some point.
Thank you. Ms. Case Mayor.
Thank you. I think that it's important for them to be teaching classes as well, because that gets them more involved with what's going on and can see more what's happening with the students and where things are at. When you pull back and you're just in a supervisory position, you lose that level of what's going on. I'm a nurse, and so I can kind of relate that to the managers, you know, of a particular unit. They sometimes lose that focus of being at the bedside. So, which is a really great way to see where the needs are, and it helps you as a supervisor, you know, or a chair to have that interaction. So yeah, I would think that they should be teaching classes as well.
Thank you. Ms. Scanlon.
I think department heads have, you know, other roles and things they do have on their plate from a day-to-day basis. They're the ones, you know, looking into investigating a lot of the curriculum. And in my experience, department heads, though maybe are not teaching classes, are still in classrooms, you know, visualizing and seeing how the curriculum is going, what's working, what's not, having those conversations with teachers, because primarily then their job is to help those teachers get what they need to be successful. So I feel like, I mean, it'd be great to have smaller class sizes, of course, but I think there's still a need for someone to be in a department head position to make sure everything's working to the best it can be for our students.
Great, thank you. Mr. Flickout.
I think I would want to work with the staff and administration to determine if that's a good decision. It's a hard decision, I think, to make without information from the whole team and group as how responsibilities are divided, even how gifting and desire works, so people who really want to do that. So I think it's possible that's a good solution. I think that needs to be looked at carefully.
All right, thank you. Mr. Brown?
It is a very good question to bring up. I think as part of steps to rebuild trust within the district and work towards more transparency, the board should ask some of those questions and begin some dialogue with the teachers and administrators within the district to see whether that might be a workable solution. There's certainly a valid point that department chairs need to be very in touch with what's going on in the classroom. But again, it's something that should be discussed with the staff to determine, is that the best way to achieve lower class sizes?
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Ms. Case-Mayer. What qualities are you looking for in a principal?
That's a very good question, and I think it's one that needs to be addressed before you even start a search. I think what's important to look for in a principal is somebody that will help represent the teachers and their needs and their issues. Somebody that can work well with the community, because they are in many ways the face of the school, and somebody that will be open to the students. The students should feel comfortable going to their principal. I think that's a very important quality as well. I think that's a good start. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Scanlon.
I would want to see someone that has experience with diverse communities, which is what District 94 serves. I would want to see someone that creates a positive school culture and community. I think amongst our students, our teachers, our board, we need someone that, as it's been discussed, there's been in the past few years some, broken bridges, and I think we need someone that can come in and have a positive outlook and join this team and work on, rebuilding our community with trust, and that's something that I would look for in a new principal.
Great, thank you. Mr. Quickhouse.
I think one of the things I like about the high school is I do think there is a very positive outlook in relation to the teachers and students, and I would hate to lose that. So I think that's a very important quality. I would want a steady personality and someone who has a philosophy in their incorporation of administration that brings a strong connection with students and staff and teachers. But that's the philosophy of the principal and how he would operate.
All right, thank you. Mr. Brown?
I applaud the district's stated intent to go to the community and the teaching staff and get a broad input on what kind of profile would be best for this principal. So that is a good way to start preparing some of the trust. I believe that some of the aspects that the new principal should have would be somebody that is a good bridge builder to kind of work on repairing some of the damaged relationships, somebody that will represent the school well, and somebody that has a passion for educating all students regardless of their academic ability and regardless of what their intent is post-high school, whether that be college, going into a trade, or anything else.
Thank you, Mr. Ramos.
I think we are reached out to start building what the principal's position is would look like. We are hoping to have someone who will enhance the skill set of our new superintendent, who will be a strong advocate for our teaching staff and for the diverse student population, and somebody who can reach out and communicate with parents and promote a positive vision and view of what our high school is. So we are looking to find the right person who will continue the journey we've been on and continue to build all the good things about District 94 that we have.
Great, thank you. Next question, we'll start with Ms. Scanlon. How will you rebuild trust with the teachers after a contentious negotiation?
I think one of the big things is communication, just being transparent with our goals as a school board and then their goals as a teaching staff. At the end of the day, we want the same thing, which is the growth and the benefit of our students. If we keep that in mind and we keep that as the central focus of our conversations, we'll be able to work together and build the most successful program that we can. We won't be able to find $1 million somewhere to do something else, but we'll be able to work together to give and take a little bit more if we stay focused on the fact that it's about our students, about our kids, and have that open line of communication, I think is what needs to be rebuilt so we can work together more successfully.
Good, thank you. Mr. Quickhouse.
I think trust and openness and communication, there's a lot of things you're trying to balance. The community does not want higher taxes, so there are limitations on the amount of money that's available. So you could kind of see that in the negotiation, that some of the groups were so frustrated with each other that communication really broke down. And so I think openness and open discussion as you walk through the limitations from both sides is the way to building more trust in the future.
Good, thank you, Mr. Brown.
One of the things that has served us well in District 34 with this kind of issue is to have regularly scheduled meetings between superintendent, principal, business manager, a couple board members, and a couple representatives from the teachers, not just when you're in negotiations, but just as a regular process to discuss different things. What's the status of the budget? What's the tax levy looking like? Why do you need this amount in reserve? There's a lot of misunderstandings when you don't have those open communications, and if everybody is operating from the same financial documents, they understand the same things, that when you do get to negotiations, you're working as a team because you're all looking at the same numbers and you can find that compromise and work together.
Thank you. Ms. Doremus.
Okay. I have been through a number of these negotiations in my tenure on the board, and also have seen this be a difficult, challenging time for all school districts in the state of Illinois and DuPage County because of our rising taxes. I value the teachers. I think from each negotiation we have learned things, and both sides can do things better. There seems to be a thought that we were not open with sharing financials, and that is absolutely not the case. But I think we could have communicated things and started working together much earlier. I think going forward we can take some good lessons and do things a little differently. If it didn't work in the past, don't assume it will continue working. Let's find a different, better way to do things.
Good, thank you. Ms. Casey Meyer.
Thank you. I agree with a lot of what's been said already. I think the goal is our students, first of all, and with that, we need to have an ongoing relationship, the board and the teachers and the Teachers Association. You can't just come together at, contract negotiation time and expect to be in agreement when you've been apart for the previous 2-3 years. So ongoing meetings, ongoing relationships, ongoing team building, I think is important. And that benefits the students in the long run. It benefits the teachers. They feel more comfortable. They know what's going on. They don't feel blindsided, because nobody ever wants to feel blindsided. We're all on the same team, and that needs to start from day one. So I think that's actually one of the first things that we could do as a new board is start building that relationship. That to me would be ground level. Thank you.
Thank you. And did I get everybody? All right, great. Okay, so I was checking a couple things. All right, so we're gonna start the next round with Mr. Claypatch. And the question is, Oak Park River Forest High School, a single school district, is eliminating the principal position. Is this something that District 94 should do? Don't repeat it.
From what I see, I don't think so. I think the superintendent and I'm assuming that we would distribute those roles. So at this point, I don't think so.
All right.
I think the interface with the teachers and the connection of the students being in the building, I think that's very helpful.
Thank you. Brown?
I was reading about that a little bit the other day. It's an interesting idea. I'm not quite sure what their motivation is, because it does state up front that they're not doing it as a cost savings, because they're expecting their cost to remain equal, their administrative count is going to be equal. I do think that a principal serves some very important roles. In particular, they do end up being the public face for that district, and if you've got some of their roles and responsibilities distributed out, you don't have that person that kind of represents the school in public, so I think you are losing something. It's an interesting concept. I'll be very interested to watch how that works out and does that and end up being a benefit to the district.
Good, thank you. Mr. Reyes?
I'm an alumni of Oak Park River Forest High School and still have some very strong connections in the community and their school board and their administration. And while it isn't a cost savings, I think it has some merit because it is a similar single unit high school district with demographics that kind of match to some degree ours. It would be interesting to see how they're allocating the duties in those positions, and does it make sense and does it bring some benefit to our students? It isn't always just about cost savings. It is about what brings the most benefit and gives as much support to the students to raise them up to where they need to be. So I think it's worth asking questions and talking about it.
I agree. I think it's worth looking at. I can't say that I totally agree with it because I think there is something to having the face of the principal. He's the school, and he's, like I said earlier, somebody the students should feel comfortable going to. And I believe that the superintendent has a different level of responsibilities that may pull him away from being immediately accessible. But I would certainly like to learn more about it because I will fully admit I don't know a lot about it, and I think it's an avenue that could be explored.
Thank you. Ms. Cameron.
I'm all for looking at new ways of doing things and innovation. I think that it's an interesting idea to, disseminate some of those roles. I do think it, as a community member, as a parent, it might be difficult for me to then go to my high school and know where to go for information if I'm not sure who to talk to necessarily. I think for our school, our district in particular, at this point in time, it would not be beneficial for us. We have a lot of, we have construction things going on. We have a lot of plates already spinning that I think it would make it very difficult for us to move to that change right now. I'm glad to see they're doing it so we can learn a little bit from them and see if it's something down the line we want to try. So it's great.
Good. That's a good case. So the next question we'll start with Ms. Brown. What is the biggest challenge facing District 94?
I would say there are multiple challenges, but I would say the biggest is the whole trust issue. The way negotiations played out, the harsh rhetoric that was flying around for well over a year of negotiations, it just created a bad environment, and that lack of trust is still evident. And while we've got excellent educators, you can't do your job to the best of your ability if you're kind of looking over your shoulder, okay, what's going on there? What are they going to do next? Do they have something going on? We need that trust, openness, and transparency to really move the district to the next level.
Thank you. Ms. Barrios?
I think the biggest challenge facing our school right now is the challenges facing our students. They have challenges that have never been faced before by students, emotional problems, language barriers, challenges that going on in their families, changes in their community, scare of the whole world and what's going on both in our state and our federal government and the world altogether. I think there's a lot of pressure on students, and we need to focus on how can we provide a safe, strong, comfortable environment that allows our students to thrive and learn. And there's a lot of pieces that come into play with that, but that is the biggest challenge, I think, for every school right now.
Thank you. Ms. Casey-Mayer?
We're a very diverse community, District 94, culturally and economically, and I think that's a big challenge. I think helping with that will be building better relationships with the board, with the Teachers Association, with the teachers and staff, and I think by building that backbone of trust and openness with the community as well helps to serve the students, because Kathy's right that there's a lot going on with our students. A lot of them are very challenged. A lot of them, there's a big increase in mental health challenges for students these days, an elementary level and a high school level. So if we can be stronger together, then that helps our students feel safe and secure and know that when they're in school, we're there for them.
Good, thank you. Ms. Scanlon?
I agree with a lot of what's already been said. As an educator, I see this. Mental health is a huge issue in our schools, and I think, especially for high school students, they get to the point where they're faced with a challenge and they just don't know what to do. They don't know how to overcome it. And so I think I want to applaud our counselors that we have at our school. I think we have some phenomenal staff members that reach out to our students to help them in that mental health way, but I think we can also expand on that a little bit more. For kids to have a place to go to help them if they're not sure what to do next, whether it's academically, whether it's emotions that they're feeling. I think that the biggest challenge facing our students is that mental health piece, and if we can help them find appropriate supports for that, then they're going to find successes in their other areas of life too.
Thank you, Mr. Quaker.
I think the biggest struggle is really not unique to D94. I think it's a cultural struggle that's happening in our country. We have, in a lot of ways, a disconnected generation. They're not as well connected with their parents and adults, and with social media, you're able to disconnect and live in a little bit of an artificial world. And we want them to have experiences that help them mature and build character and values that lead to a successful life. And I think the teachers, we need to provide more support for teachers through mentors and others. They only have so much time to do that. And so I think that unique thing is not unique to D94. It's happening all around the country, and we're seeing the effects of that. So I think to provide a bigger envelope and more opportunities for children to engage with adults is one of my hopes.
All right, thank you. Next question, we'll start with Mr. Ramos. How will you engage and connect with the community? Do you favor a citizens advisory board?
I think a citizens advisory board could be very, very beneficial. We've reached out to the community in different ways many times, but I think putting a group together that comes in to truly advise and be a part of what we're looking at, keeping us as a board informed of what the issues are, would be hugely beneficial for everybody. I think there is always a concern that the Citizens Advisory Board may assume that they're the decision makers, where the board has been chosen by the citizens to be the decision makers. We rely on our administration and our internal recommendations, but it would be helpful for us to be cognizant in a much more robust fashion as to what the community is thinking.
Good, thank you. Ms. Mayor?
I think a citizens advisory board sounds wonderful, and we certainly should be getting more input from the community, and sometimes that's hard. Sometimes the community doesn't respond to a desire to have input, so we need to keep finding new ways to address that, how to communicate best with the community. I think it's important too to remember that we're not just West Chicago, we're not just Winfield, we have a little bit of Warrenville even, but we have a part of Carroll Stream as well. So we have to make sure if we were to go that route and have something like that, that we have representatives from everywhere, because they all have different types of needs and issues and what's important to them. As school board members, I think it's also important for us to have our ears to the ground and kind of be our own citizens advisory board, so that we know what's going on. So it's not just coming to a meeting once a month, it's kind of you're an ongoing input receiver for the citizens. Thank you. Sorry.
A big part of why I ran to be appointed to the board last summer was that there wasn't any representation from Carroll Stream, which is where I'm from. And it is a small pocket of the students that go to District 94, but each of our communities has different views and different things that are important to us and for our students. Different communities have different backgrounds and things that, we might need that are different. So I think it's really important that we have representation from all of our communities. I think a citizen committee like that would be great. I think giving them the opportunity, or just anyone in the community, the opportunity to talk to them, to bring forward their ideas, and then even have a representative from that citizen community report out at board meetings. So that way we're always getting that information, I think is important.
Good, thank you. Mr. Quaker?
I think it's a good idea. I think the real goal of the idea is a connection with the community. So I think I want to develop with the board a strategy that we have confidence will work long term. Sometimes you start these things with good intentions and they fizzle out for lack of interest and people get busy. So there might be some other ideas, even visiting local businesses or communities or subdivisions and connect to the, I think I'd want to develop a holistic strategy that we think would work long term.
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
A citizens advisory board is potentially a good idea. It's certainly worth looking at. What we need to look at in the bigger picture is the whole idea of being open and transparent and finding ways to connect our community to the school, to the board, and the community needs to be able to be involved with how the board makes decisions. That affects how we conduct our meetings, when we conduct our meetings, where we conduct our meetings, how can they have access to those meetings, how welcoming we are to public input. There's a lot that can be done to try to have a better connection between our community and our district, and that's essential for moving forward.
Thank you. So the next question will be to Ms. Casey Mayer. What percentage of teacher pension contributions should be paid by the teachers and by the district respectively?
Okay, that's a good one.
Do you want me to repeat it?
Yeah, please.
What percentage of teacher pension contributions should be made by the teachers and by the district respectively?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know that I have an exact answer for that. I would have to, I'll just be honest, I would have to research that. I think it's important that we provide a robust pension plan for our teachers. That's vitally important. And I'm just gonna have to go with that because I feel that I can't answer appropriately unless I research it further.
Thank you, Ms. Scanlon.
Yeah, I mean, again, too, I think we need a little more information, but if we want to keep good teachers and we want to have quality teachers for our students, we do want to make sure that the benefits we give to our teachers are proficient enough. At the end of the day, we want our students to have the best education possible, and that means, giving them the best teachers, mental health, physical health, and prevention as well. So I think, that's something that in the next few years, as we come up with coming to another contract negotiation, will be something that will be discussed. And again, having that open communication with our teachers and our staff and our students, to see what we can do. But again, we want to be competitive. We want to have great teachers.
Thank you, Mr. Blackhatch.
It is a struggle of how many dollars do you have to work with, and to think that's going to go away or there's going to be an easy answer is wishful thinking. The whole state is struggling with finances. If you look at private business, most private industries, which I've worked in for 20 years, have done away with pensions. They're very expensive benefits, and so it will be it'll be an ongoing struggle of can you afford to pay for that? How do you afford to pay for that in an ongoing basis? And so I think you need a lot of data to make a decision with the board. What can we do? What do we have to do to be financially solid? So I would want to decide that looking at all the data with the board and the teachers.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Brown.
That is a good question. It is critical that we are able to attract and keep excellent teachers within our district. As far as actual percentages, certainly that's something that's involved with negotiations between the district and the teachers. And if we have a trusting environment and openness and transparency, we can have some good dialogue to figure out together what is the best way forward for the district. Whatever that settles on, it's also very important that it be presented in a way that is fair and open so that the entire community can be aware this is the path that we're following, this is how the district is compensating teachers so that it's all out in the open and transparent for the community.
Mr. Ramos.
That is an item that comes up in bargaining, and it is up to the two bargaining teams to discuss it and agree on what makes the most sense for the teachers, with the dollars that are available. I do think compensating our teachers fairly, well, and competitively is huge and important to maintain the great staff we have, encourage new talented teachers to come into our district and support us, but I can't answer a specific percentage of it because that's something that's negotiated. It's a tough question.
It is. Next question is for Ms. Scanlon. How will you assure students and parents that immigration status will not affect their ability to get an education in the district?
That's a great question. You know, in my experience working with Teach for America, I faced this problem a lot where we would have students that would not even find out they were illegal immigrants until they went to apply for FAFSA, and then they couldn't get any money to go to college, right? And that's, it's heartbreaking because for them, they've been here their whole life. This is their home. And at the end of the day, these are kids in our community, and our job is to educate them to the best of our ability. Their background and where they came from, if they're here illegally or legally, regardless, they are a student in our school, and it is our job to educate them to the best of our ability, and so that they can be prepared to be successful in life. And that's the bottom line how I see it.
Good, thank you, Mr. Quakoch.
I think that is not going to happen at the board level. If a parent and a family who is struggling, if that's something they need to worry about or not, that's going to happen through someone they meet, someone they know. If you're going to deal with that fear, if they have friends and other people they connect with, or other business leaders who they trust, say that is not a concern. So I think it's about building connections with those families, with people they trust.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
As a public school, we have a sacred duty to provide an excellent education to all of the children that live within our district, regardless of their status, regardless of their living situation. So the important thing is, they're children in our district, they need a quality education.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes.
The law provides for all students living in the community to be provided with an education. So that isn't even a question that is asked when a student is registered for school. They're protected no matter what. I think the question we're probably hinting at is what about our students who fall within the DACA designation, in which case we have policies and procedures at our high school to protect those children. The reality in high school is they're based on the parameters of what a DACA status is. There are minimal students who would be qualified in that. I would be more concerned about their families, and unfortunately, other than providing resources, there is not much as a school we can do. All we can do is provide the best possible education for every student we have.
Thank you, Ms. Casey-Mayer.
It is a good question, and especially important, I think, for District 94. As with healthcare, there is no question as to your immigration status. We just provide them with an education. I'm glad to know that there are some plans and policies in place, especially regarding DACA. When we had the meet and greet a few weeks ago, we had the students come over. Many of them, that was their question, was about immigration. What were my thoughts on DACA? I would like to know that there's something in place. For instance, if ICE came and visited the school, what would be the plan? What would we do? How would we support the students in that type of a situation? So while, yes, we will provide them with an education, we should make sure that we have all avenues covered so that we know how to respond, because the school should be a haven for them. So teachers, counselors should be able to know what to do in all situations regarding immigration.
Okay. We're going to take, this will be the last question, then we'll go to closing statements because we're running out of time. And I've chosen this one because it's a good follow-up question of the one that you were just asked. Does the district have a policy, should an INS or ICE or whoever come to the school?
Oh.
Okay.
Who's
I'm sorry, would be Mr. Pickup.
That is a good question. Since I'm not on the school board yet, I don't know. So it would be good to find out and again, this is such a complex issue. It would be good to understand what exists with the teachers, staff, and the school board. Is there one of the policies, and do we feel it's adequate? I'd be uncomfortable trying to comment on that from what I currently know, but I'd be willing to look at it and evaluate it on a team.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
It is an excellent question. I have not gone through the entire set of policies that the district has. However, we have that sacred duty to provide education for all of our students, and you can't educate students if they're not living in an environment and being in school in an environment where they feel safe. So that is absolutely something that should be addressed.
Thank you. Mr. Reynolds.
We do have a policy, we do have procedures. A presentation was given by Dr. Chang, a board meeting in open session a few months ago discussing exactly how that works. Everybody at our district level on down is aware of what that is, and it's available on our district website.
Good, thank you.
That's good to know, Kathy, thank you. I think it's important to see District 94 as a place that they can resource with, and to know, people should know that those policies are in place, because what I envision is, say a parent goes to pick up their child at school, and what if ICE decides to come and take those parents, and then what happens to the child? I mean, these are scenarios that are happening across the country. There's no reason why we may not potentially see something like that happen here. And so we need to know how to support the child, maybe the rest of the family, and know what resources are out there for them. So we want to be seen as that resource. So yes, I think we should have things in place. We need to let the community know that we have those things in place. And so if they have problems, that we are a place that they can come to for additional resources.
Great, Ms. Callen?
As been stated, obviously we do have a policy. I think, as Lynn said as well, those community members that are concerned or do have those concerns, knowing that there is a policy in place and making sure they have that available to see our policy and what protection we can offer is important too. But at the end of the day, as Bob said too, we need to make sure that our school feels like a safe environment where all of our students can come and there's already enough pressure on students at school to learn and get everything done they need to do. They don't need the pressure of all of that on top of it. So let's focus on getting them the best education.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you. So we will move now to closing statements, and we will begin with Mr. Brown.
Thank you for coming to today's forum. I am ready, willing, and able to be a part of helping make our excellent high school even better. I have a passion for building trust and building bridges between people. I also believe in operating a school district with as much transparency and openness as possible. From my time on the District 34 board, I have seen firsthand that trust, openness, and transparency can be the hallmark of a district. A public school should also do everything possible to welcome participation and involvement from our community, whether that means formally doing things in our schools, being involved in committees, or attending board meetings. Community input should be a very welcome thing in our school. I'd like to help bring that kind of environment here to District 94. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you also for joining us this morning, and it's nice to be able to see so many community members here. I am again running for the 4th term, and through my tenure with the school board, I have seen us continually strive to become more open and transparent to the community. This is not, we have no secrets, there's nothing that's being hidden. We make announcements, we post it, we reach out to the community. All of our board members are involved and visible within the community and accessible. So, I do think we can always improve and strive to do better. Every negotiations does cause some chagrin within the community, but I think those are opportunities for us to improve what we do, to find new ways to do better, and I hope to be a part of that and for the betterment of our students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Casey Mayer.
First of all, thank you for this opportunity to speak with the community. It's been a pleasure. I'm a nurse. I think I alluded to that a little bit before. I'm a helper, a fixer by nature and by trade. So when I see things that maybe need a little help or things like that, I just want to jump in and be a part of the solution. I think the most important thing to do is develop better relationships with the community, with the Teachers Association, with the district staff, and I believe we can accomplish great and positive things with that ongoing. One of the key things, I think, is communication and education. I've done this before as a nurse, building committees to help with that on large 100-bed units, and it just increased morale. So I think we can do that with the board as well.
Thank you, Ms. Scanlon.
I just want to thank you all for coming today and for giving me the opportunity to speak with you and give some of my thoughts on your questions. I've really enjoyed my time on the board for these past 6 to 7 months. I feel like I've really kind of gotten my feet wet, gotten involved in understanding the policies and how District 94 works, and I'm looking forward to hoping to continue that support. With my background in education and administration, I feel that I do offer a lot to the board and kind of a bridge a little bit from the teachers to the board, because I know what they're going through. I know what it's like in the trenches, as we say. So having that bridge, I think, can help kind of build a little more communication between the teachers, staff, and the board moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Claybatch.
It's been a pleasure. I've met a lot of very friendly, nice, and very qualified people, all of them, and I mean that. One thing I've seen growing up as a youth, engaging with youth, is it's pretty easy to come to points in your life where you feel a little hopeless, you feel a little discouraged, you feel fearful, or even disconnected. And what I've seen is to come alongside people, especially young people. How do you deal with that? Well, you need a lot of little positive experiences, thousands of them. And so we're trying to create that, and I go, the school and the teachers are limited in how much time, money, we're all limited. So what's the best balance of that, and can we help augment and come alongside what the teachers are already doing? As I've said before, even with coaches, with my kids have had a phenomenal experience at the high school. And I just think the connection between the high school and the community is stronger than other towns I've lived in, and I'd like to see if we can keep going. So,
Thank you very much. I want to thank you all for coming today. I'm sure the public appreciates getting to know you all a little bit better. We want to thank you.